said, like, hey, does anybody have any questions? And multiple people, the first thing they wanted to know is, why the was that Lion King game so hard?
Goodbye. I just keep dying. That's what my life is at this point, bro. That's what it is. No more continues. I'm out. That was a nice run. Bro, this game sucks. The people who made this game suck. I suck for playing this game.
Yeah, I'm losing faith, bro. I'm not finishing this game. Because 8 days and I can't finish it. There just won't be a video. I don't think there's going to be a video.
I present to you the game that no one could beat, Lion King, for Super Nintendo.
1994's The Lion King is one of the most difficult, most frustrating games ever made, and over the next hour we will chronicle all the ways in which it put me through the grinder. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know up front that my story with The Lion King on Super Nintendo is not one of hardship or regret. No, this is not a story about suffering. It is a story about overcoming suffering, about transcending that which is material and achieving true enlightenment through suffering. In fact, it was only through suffering that I finally came to understand The Lion King. Not just the game, but the film and its titular character, Simba. Not just Simba, but the mammalian Samaritans who aided him along the way to reinstating himself as the rightful king of the Pride Lands. Not just those animals, but the forces that breathed life into them and their film. And you know what? Us, and even the world around us, concrete insights into the inner machinations of the universe. I learned life lessons playing this game. That's how hard it is.
The Lion King video game from Disney Software and Virgin Interactive Entertainment.
The Lion King, aka Hamlet sorta with animals, is not just one of the all-time great ripoffs, films. It's also a billions-dollar franchise, and that was how Disney always envisioned it. Sequels, reinterpretations,
now this title's a knockout.
Remakes and merchandising aside, tie-in video games based on the original Lion King film from 1994 were released the same year that movie came out, with Dark Technologies handling the Game Boy version of the game, Xerox Developments handling the Master System and Game Gear versions, and Westwood Studios handling the piece of shit we're playing today. You probably recognize Westwood for their work on the lauded Command & Conquer series, and they're a well-known producer of real-time strategy games in general, which obviously made them the perfect candidates to develop a not RTS game based on this beloved little bastard. The Lion King on Super Nintendo is a platformer. You can use your controller to manipulate Simba, zip around from left to right, climb and swing on all sorts of things, and jump on certain enemies to wipe them from this mortal plane instantaneously. The game's manual calls this move a pounce, but these lizards are clearly imploding into dust, so I'll be side-eyeing this eldritch creature for the rest of the video and making sure I don't say nothing bad about him. First thing you notice when booting The Lion King up is the artwork. It's to die for. This is one of the most beautiful games I have ever played, and surely one of the most beautifully presented games of the 90s. Everything from the opening credits being set to a 16-bit rendition of Circle of Life, to the beautifully pixelated image of Rafiki lifting up an infant Simba to the heavens to usher us into the start menu, to Timon opening the game from the black with that famous proclamation, "It starts." A simple line read with such reverence for the experience we're about to partake in, the journey forward, and a hilariously perfect sampling and recontextualization of Timon's line from the film. This is as perfect an introduction as you could hope for, one that would get any player excited to jump into the world and start mashing buttons, and one that fails to set us up for the hours of misery we're expected to tolerate if we want to complete this thing. My experience with the first few levels of The Lion King changed me. I'd come to understand that I would have to become a better person if I wanted to stand half a chance in hell of beating this game, but I didn't realize this immediately, as we start The Lion King in the Pride Lands, Simba's home and eventual kingdom, on some chill roly-poly shit. We're relaxed enough to take in some of the sights, so relaxed that if Simba sits still long enough he'll start trying to catch butterflies. An amazing little detail executed beautifully, and that compliment goes for all the rest of the sprites and animation work in the game, courtesy of Walt Disney Feature Animation Services, of course. The enemies on this level are at most suggesting that you try and defeat them. They're otherwise perfectly happy to lounge around and do nothing. This is my tempo. I can handle this. And even if I couldn't, there are health pickups everywhere, so it really is hard to lose lives here, as in if you do manage to accomplish that, Hey, just take the cartridge out and go play something else, bro, because you're not beating this game. Go play Dark Souls or something. The aim of level 1 is to get to the top of this outcrop and whoop a member of Scar's Nazi hyena army. This particular goon seems pretty tough at first, but the dog is all bark and telegraphs his offense like it's amateur hour. Meanwhile, we've been destabilizing the Pride Lands, endangering every species that the game will let us anywhere near, so Simba is much more prepared for this clash than you would think. Stamp this potentially problematic caricature out to get to level 2, but not before Timon and Pumbaa get their little cameos in. You get to control this pair of misfits as they take part in some pretty fun minigames that you can play at the end of each main level, provided you pick up one of these blue bugs along the way. Some of these bugs are hidden in pretty interesting places, and the manual doesn't tell you that they are what unlock access to Timon and Pumbaa's minigames, but I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. If you don't pick the blue beetles up, you will never see heads or tails of these fools in the game, which would be tactical malpractice on our part because both Timon and Pumbaa's bug collectathons grant Simba extra lives and goodies if you're good enough at them, Timon's especially. Just run around collecting enough of the right bugs while avoiding the wrong bugs, and you can net 2 to 3 lives per section. And you will need these lives if you don't intend on quitting the game forever after playing level 2, which is what most folks who played The Lion King opted to do. Seriously, it's somehow not the worst this game gets, but fuck level 2.
Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
In Nivel 2, we're playing through a gamified interpretation of Simba, Nala, and Zazu's number "I Just Can't Wait to Be King" from the original movie. The Lion King movie uses this number and its accompanying psychedelic visuals to give us an impression of Simba's childlike naivete. He's excited to become king of the Pride Lands, but doesn't know what it means to be king of the Pride Lands, and will only come to appreciate the weight of such a title near the end of the movie, years after everything goes wrong in his life. Simba's father, Mufasa, tries to stress the tenet of responsibility and how important it is that a king possesses this trait, but Simba's just a cub and can't wrap his head around big ideas. For now, being king means going on a romp through the savannah with his friends, coming up with silly new commandments for the animal kingdom to adhere to as doctrine, and reinforcing his place at the top of the food chain. Can't Wait to Be King transitions beautifully into the elephant graveyard scene, and Simba's quickly hit with the first dose of reality here, as him and Nala are greeted by a surprise Whoopi Goldberg.
Well, Banzai, what have we got here?
All part of Scar's plan to outsource Simba's killing so that he can usurp the throne. If you remember, Simba and Nala end up at the graveyard because Scar told him there was a Bathing Ape pop-up store opening around there, and Simba got excited despite his dad saying don't go there mere minutes beforehand. Simba puts his and Nala's life in danger on purpose, and his father has to bail the kid out. Yeah, the boy's for sure not ready for any type of throne no time soon, and eventually through no fault of his own, Simba will have no place in the Pride Lands whatsoever. The Lion King game is 30 years old and made for the Super Nintendo, so it doesn't aim to capture any of these story beats or nuances. Instead, each level is a vignette. A little slice from a scene here, a playable section of an iconic number there, and sometimes you'll get a seconds-long cutscene that reaffirms where you are in the film's story. The Lion King game is a companion piece to the movie it's based on, a fun project that you can play alongside the film and go, oh yeah, this level is Can't Wait to Be King. Or rather, fuck me, this level is Can't Wait to Be King. You can find an old Double Fine Let's Play of this game on YouTube featuring Westwood Studios co-founder Lewis Castle, and apparently in it he apologizes for level 2 and its various monkey-throwing puzzles in particular being difficult, but I'm sorry. I'm gonna need an apology for all the other shit too, man.
Why the f was that Lion King game so hard?
This level is where the platforming starts to feel not so great, in my opinion, so the monkeys I don't even have a problem with. The rhinos will launch Simba into the sky, and nearby tree simians will then toss him in different directions. Simba can roar at these monkeys to change the direction they're facing so that they toss him in the ultimate direction he's trying to go in. Get it? It's fairly straightforward. What's less straightforward are these ridiculous sequences where Simba's riding an ostrich and has to make these carefully timed double jumps. You'll have to duck under birds' nests sometimes, you'll have to jump over this weird-looking rhino thing sometimes. That's fine. But sometimes you'll encounter both and will have to do a double jump. The timing required to get this jump right is absolutely ridiculous, and I guarantee you this is the reason why players generally haven't gotten far past the Lion King's second level. The first 15 to 20 times I played this sequence, I thought I was tripping, dog. I died over and 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 over again, trying to make this one jump that takes place not 30 seconds into the level. Keep in mind that after you lose all your lives, which at most can be 3 at this point if you're playing on normal mode, that's it. The game does not save your progress after you beat a level. You lose enough times and you're getting kicked back to the start screen. Game told me, wanna try this jump again? See if you can make it there again, my nigga. This is truly what makes The Lion King a grind. It's as old school as any game from the 90s. If you're having a problem dealing with a certain section of the game, you'd best hope you had a handle on how to get back to that section without losing too many lives, because otherwise it's just live, die, repeat. The game. A permanent cycle of suffering. So what's the secret with this double jump? You have to do it kinda last minute, but not too last minute. After dying 150 times, you'll start to get a weird feel for the timing, or at least we'd better hope, because beating The Lion King on SNES necessitates that we can reliably get this double jump right. About a year ago when I first tried my hand at this game proper, I just couldn't get past this part of the level, and was relieved to learn that forum nerds had my back when it came to this jump. It's one of the most harrowing challenges in the game, and you encounter it basically from the moment you put the cartridge in. I was playing The Lion King on retrogames.cc, an unbelievable website that allows you to play 8 to 16-bit games, hell up to 64-bit games, in the browser. The site allows you to make an account and save games to a favorites list for easy access. It also gives you all the hallmarks of any good emulator, including a save state function. This feature allows you to capture the game state at any point in time and return to it whenever you want, essentially allowing you to play retro games like they're modern games. Beat a level, then capture a save state once you reach a new level, and when you die, instead of having to start from level 1, you can reload your saved game state and start The Lion King from wherever you want. The first time I played The Lion King, I died during this ostrich sequence so many times that I had to fall back on a save state to prevent a loss to my sanity.
I have to go all the way back to the fucking beginning.
Dying here, then having to go through level 1 all over again, beating this hyena all over again, seeing Mufasa's little cutscene
Everything the light touches.
all over again, and playing Pumbaa's minigame all over again just to get back to level 2 and die in the exact same place was soul crushing. But you know what's funny? I realized before my second go around with The Lion King in 2025 that I wouldn't personally be happy with completing this game, were I even capable of doing so, if I had to lean so heavily on save states. The Lion King was a game for children, allegedly. The kids didn't have save states back then. So I decided that, this time, I didn't either. From now on, every time I lost my lives, I would go back to the beginning of the game, as Westwood Studios, Disney, and God intended. I decided I would beat The Lion King on their terms and spite them all. Fuck this game. I made the jump and now I'm in the second portion of the level. These checkpoints are so crucial, and at this point I'm just looking towards the heavens suspended in a state of gratitude. If Simba dies, we'll never have to do that ostrich bullshit again, as long as he actually has lives to spare. Once you hit 0, Rafiki will look disappointed in you and ask if you want to continue the game from the beginning of whatever level you died on. It's a much better deal than starting from level 1, especially because you get to restart with the max number of lives, but each time you continue from 0 lives, you use up a circle of life. You can find one circle of life hidden on every level, and it's important that you go hunting for them, because you'll need as many buffer lives as possible each time you stumble into a new area, as you'll have no idea what bullshit this game is going to subject you to. Trust me, it's something new and surprising every time. For now though, we're at a checkpoint. There's an extra life immediately to our right and a circle of life right above us, so the Lion King is extending an olive branch after putting us through a food processor seconds beforehand. All you have to do is get to these items. Okay. The swinging mechanics in this game are completely fucked. You're not guaranteed to jump in the direction you're swinging towards, and you're also not guaranteed to grab onto whatever object you're jumping to. Seriously, are these not basic tenets of platforming games? Why would Simba jump in this direction from this position? It makes no sense. I'm diving straight into the water here. Why won't he just grab the hippo like he's supposed to? Little details like these make The Lion King feel unpredictable on a primal, instinctual level, which is not good, especially for this genre. You start second-guessing yourself while playing The Lion King, like the game is gaslighting you. The mental pressure is off the charts as it is, especially when you know it's back to the Pride Lands if you can't hang. I'd get through the ostrich section relieved, only to realize I now had to get through this dumbass section. It's not possible to make it through this part of the level with all your lives intact 100% of the time, even if you're a skilled Lion Kinger. There are just some things that are out of your control, and that's the reality that you have to accept if you want to keep your peace or what remains of it while playing The Lion King. Sometimes Simba will just jump from this hippo straight into the fucking water. and you have to charge it to the game and keep it pushing, soldier. Only to be greeted by the game's second ostrich sequence. OMG, bro. Ugh. Honestly, for as much as I hate the ostrich sequences, the second one is actually easier than the first one, which sounds crazy at first, but I'm being serious. Ostrich Folie à Deux, aka the second ostrich sequence, throws jumps, ducks, and double jumps at you with reckless abandon and also at the speed of light with no arrow signs telling you what to do, but this double jump arrow sign gives you way too much time to think and plenty of leeway to mess something up anyway. You fucked this jump up psychologically before you've even had to actually do it, you get me? Sequence 2 speeds things up to the point where you don't even have to think about the timing much. You just have to react the right way. You'll probably time the double jump a bit later than you think you should as a result of the obstacle coming at you so fast, and that's the right timing. A bit later than you think you should. So in theory, this section shouldn't give you so much trouble. If you're not Babar. Level 2 is done at this point if you can make it past this sprawling monkey puzzle that stretches across 2 in-game islands. Some of the rhinos are just here to waste your time, and you will definitely die trying to pick up this extra life because this is the Lion King and you should expect nothing less at this point. I don't really have much to say about these puzzles except that they exacerbate the seasickness this game was giving me anyway, so let's just get out of this hellhole, please. Out of the hellhole and into the asshole, because level 3 is somehow much harder than level 2, and I just wrote all that bullshit. When I first booted this game up from retrogames.cc in 2024, I barely made it to level 3 before quitting the game for a year. I just couldn't do it anymore. The Lion King had successfully broken me. But if you're resilient enough to beat level 2 even the one time, you can beat level 3. If Babar can do it, any damn thing is possible. Much like the previous level, the Lion King on Super Nintendo interprets the elephant graveyard scene from the original movie as a solo romp, booby-trapped to shit and littered with enough hyenas to form a cackle? That's not the right term. A clan. We've got to flex young Simba's combat skills right from the opening seconds of this level. Yeah, single fledgling hyena in the Pride Lands was one thing, but try 2. And they can now do more of their nonsense before reverting to this temporarily exhausted state that makes them vulnerable to Simba's pounce, so we've got to be luckier, craftier, and patienter. Dying here of course means doing level 1 and now level 2 all over again, which probably sounds like some kind of medieval torture. Imagine the hell I've seen. Level 3 is a circular trek of misery that loops back around on itself in time for you to go, oh, that's pretty cool design, right before getting stomped out by this pack of Scar's goons, if you even make it that far. An excellent 16-bit rendition of Scar's number, be prepared, scores our descent into madness as we slowly, painfully, repeatedly come to realize that every square inch of this map is designed to kill Simba, mostly instantly and kind of unfairly feelingly. Not gonna lie, it took me 54 minutes to even get here in the first place, and it'll take another 25 to 30 to get back here after I lose all my lives. First thing that happens is I stupidly think Simba's gonna be able to grab this paw hold if I jump at it because that's what you'd expect to happen in a platformer. Instead, he careens headlong into the depths of Hades and instantly fucking dies. Okay, man. I'm embarrassed to even go over the next few minutes of this footage because I first decided it would be a good idea to try the same thing twice. What do you call that again? Lastly, I come to remember that respect is a two-way street and actually play through this portion of the level the way the game wants me to play it, starting with the first bone and working my way across the empty hole of death before getting sniped by a vulture. Okay. Are there any more highlights from day 1 of my attempt to beat the Lion King? Oh yeah, me dying, and me dying. I get to this part of the level where you can swing up into the sky using this scattered constellation of bones and spend 7 minutes trying to figure out why Simba wouldn't just grab a hold of them. Why does everything in this game have to be so difficult? What would have been the harm in just allowing Simba to respond in the way you'd expect him to in these moments? Why does a little thing like this have to be a puzzle? Is that even what Westwood Studios intended for the game to be like? Did they want players to end up in situations like this? You don't actually have to climb this wall of bones. Just scroll to the right and you'll be on the correct path. But I was so frustrated by the game at this point that I immaturely dug my heels in and refused to make an inch of progress until I figured out how to climb this stupid wall. I may have made it to level 3 on day 1, but the Lion King had me beat here. I was too seasick to continue playing after about an hour and 10 minutes, and I just couldn't understand why anyone would implement their platforming mechanics like this. A total checkmate. I had to pause The Lion King and walk away, head hung in shame. The last 2 minutes of my footage is just me scrolling through this forum trying to figure out who's the stupid one here, me or the game's developers. The answer is me, though not because this part of the level isn't bullshit. It took 24 hours to regain my motor functions, recover my sanity, and build the intestinal fortitude it would take to whittle level 3 down to dust. I went through the footage I'd gathered up to this point, and I specifically analyzed my pathetic attempt at scaling this wall of bones frame by frame so that I could figure out how to make sure this shit never happened again. I had some successful attempts at getting Simba to latch on to the second bone in this series, and at first I thought it had to do with the timing. Like in level 2, when you're trying to cross this body of water by swinging on the hippo tails, Simba will sometimes jump the wrong way or not latch onto the tail you were aiming for. The solution to this puzzle is to jump Simba from tail to tail as fast as possible. The longer you take to make a decision about when to jump, the more likely it is that something unexpected will happen, and in The Lion King that usually guarantees Simba's demise and a swift kick in the ass back to level 1. The bones in level 3 don't work like the hippo tails though, or even like other bones in different sections of the same map, even though the mechanic is the same in all cases. The bones that are suspended over this cavern behave in a straightforward way, where you probably can't grab onto these bones over here, but start from the first bone in the series, and Simba will make it across to the other side almost 100% of the time. But these bones are different from the other bones. See, the first bone in this series behaves like the bones we encountered previously, but from this point you must launch Simba backwards from each bone to the next one in the chain, at least until he reaches the bone at the top of the series, which behaves like a regular bone. Keep in mind that you'll increase Simba's chances of latching onto the second and third bones if you jump backwards closer to like here at the halfway point in his swing, rather than when he's about to finish his rotation, although getting a proper feel for this technique will only net you success 85 to 90% of the time. Why did the studio think this would be a good idea? Who knows? Best part about scaling this wall is you get to the top of it and find nothing, of course. Jump to the right and you'll net a few health pickups that you likely don't need, and otherwise you end up at the same place you would have had you not scaled the wall. Excellent. If you'd rather an actual reward for your accomplishments here, you'll want to make this absolutely suicidal jump to the left so that you can pick up this extremely useful extra life that you'll definitely have missed if you weren't paying attention, which of course you weren't, because your head was probably steaming, as mine was by the time I got to the Elephant Graveyard's checkpoint. There are 1,000 dumb ways to die on this level, some of them being our fault and some of them being the game rubbing its ass on our faces, but this level is a litmus test. If you can make it past this one, you can at least make it to level 8. And I'm saying 2, not past level 8, for good reason, because holy shit. It took a couple hours of pure dedication and focus across 2 or 3 days to get a proper handle on level 3 and actually beat it. It's surprisingly easy to die right after the checkpoint, but as frustrating as this hot steam tunnel thing is, Simba's death is entirely on your head if you're not locked in and mashing the jump button here. It's not on the game if you lose a life during this sequence, which is an important realization to come to when playing this game. There are surely plenty of moments where it feels like you're getting fucked over. You'll take a moment to catch your breath and the game will yank the ground from underneath you and kill you. You'll think these trampoline blanket things are safe to jump on, and nope, not really. The game establishes that vultures take 2 pounces to beat until you get to this one that takes 3 for some reason, unless of course you let it fly off screen, upon which it will return with full health every time, effectively making it invincible if you're on a really unlucky run. You'll make your way up to this health pickup over here after besting the steam tunnel, a really hard thing to do. This might be the most difficult pickup to reach in the first half of the game, to the extent that you'll probably die trying to get to it. Of course, when you do reach it in your time of need, you'll realize that there's no way down. If you struggle to reach this health pickup, fuck you. The only way out of this situation is to die. See you in the Pride Lands, bum. This game is absolutely BS. It's coded in BS++, but to be fair to it, there are plenty of opportunities for you to ruin a run of The Lion King all on your own, and the steam tunnel is but one place where this can and probably will happen. Get to the top of the Elephant Graveyard and it's time to circle back around again. The remaining challenges are all combat related. You can take or leave any hyenas, but you probably want to deal with all the birds as they follow you around the whole map, harassing you non-stop, trying their best to drag you and the game's frame rate to hell. Don't let them. If you somehow made it to the final arena with enough health and some continues in stock, which you probably haven't, these hyenas will drop in from the fucking sky to finish the job on Simba. In the original movie, it's Mufasa who springs on the hyenas and rescues Simba and company. a significant beat in the film's story. It's actually really important that Mufasa is the one to bail Simba out of this sticky situation, a situation that Simba walked into foolishly and willingly and with company as unprepared for the moment as he was. This is Simba's last get-out-of-jail-free card. Scar and the hyenas kill Mufasa after this scene, and Simba, who knows he's irresponsibly put his loved ones, Mufasa included, in dangerous situations before, is told that he's responsible for his own father's death. In his mind, he's finally done the worst thing his dad warned him could happen. He doesn't just abandon the Pride Lands because he's sad about his father, although that on its own would be understandable. He leaves because he's not fit to fulfill his destiny, to rule the Pride Lands. It's only now that Mufasa's lessons leave a permanent impression on Simba. It's a tragedy that only after Mufasa's sort of self-prophesized death, Simba gets a sense of what it means to be like his father, to be a king. And he's not him or that. Mufasa wouldn't have gotten his loved ones killed. Not that Simba actually killed Mufasa, but he thinks he did, you get me. And in The Lion King, if you can't take your place in the natural circle of life, or you don't have an adequate place in the circle a la Scar, you're at best inferior and at worst nothing. So off Simba pops, out of the brambles and into the desert, not knowing if he'll die and not knowing what his fate will be, just knowing that he'll never come back home. Simba will later meet Timon and Pumbaa, two characters who've abandoned the notion of taking their place in the circle of life entirely and are rightfully happy for it, but the movie will tell us that these two characters are also wrong and that Simba should go fulfill his destiny and beat Scar and become king and stuff. I mean, they're kind of hedonistic, and I do like that they come to realize that there are greater causes to fight for than just what's for lunch today, but I don't think Timon and Pumbaa had the wrong idea necessarily. I'm not so sure about this king stuff either, guys. But here they are in the Pride Lands at the end of the movie living happily ever after, so I don't know. Anyway, Scar's scheme to usurp the throne is so insidiously brilliant and psychologically damaging to the young cub that it's a wonder this maniac is suddenly reduced to an unprepared dumbass by the time his moment of reckoning comes. But the Lion King game, of course, doesn't really work to capture any of these interesting narrative or thematic tidbits. Not Scar's plan, not Mufasa's wisdom or his eventual demise, not Simba's tragedy or ultimate realizations, not any of it. And perhaps this is the most ideal version of a Lion King game. It's not bogged down in context, walls of text, or early attempts at cutscenes. No, the Lion King game captures moments, vignettes, and interprets them as gameplay. The original film and its game released in the same year. No one was buying The Lion King on Super Nintendo because it was just some cool-looking new cartridge with animals on it and rad graphics and extraordinarily frustrating gameplay. Everyone who bought this game watched the movie in theaters first, potentially multiple times, before potentially buying The Lion King on DVD.
There! Now this title's a knockout!
And then maybe they bought the Lion King game. You're supposed to watch the movie then play the game, not the other way around, so it's mostly fine that the game only captures recognizable and potentially playable snapshots of the film and gets you in those levels as fast as possible, rather than figure out how to render Mufasa's death in 16-bit. Instead of anything like that, we fade from the elephant graveyard to the stampede scene, and from that sequence we transition into a short scene where Scar spots Simba fleeing and gives some instructions to his hyenas.
Kill him.
This cutscene mirrors the same moment from the movie, and I like how the game juxtaposes Scar and Mufasa through the framing and coloring of their respective mini cutscenes. Not to say that the movie doesn't do its own effective juxtapositions, but these obviously contrasting images are important for the Lion King game because Scar is, of course, in the context of its gameplay, the final boss. Establishing this evil presence from the moment you complete the elephant graveyard is important because the gamer in you is supposed to want to put that evil bastard down on sight, and hopefully that desire will be part of what pushes you to play through the entire game. It was not a strong enough push for most who put the game down at around this point in their journey with it, and I ought to have succumbed to the same fate, but after miraculously reaching level 5, instantly dying and being sent back to level 1 for the umpteenth time, I've come to a few important realizations. See, the Stampede level was extremely frustrating the first time I played it. The game's perspective switches temporarily, like this is Pepsi Man, and Simba runs away from these stampeding wildebeests and towards the camera, a great way to capture this moment from the film. The perspective shift is so jarring that it induces anxiety, and the music and atmosphere do their part to sell the level big as well. But it takes some time to get a sense of when the wildebeest are far away versus when they're imminently approaching. It's a good sequence, truly, but it takes some getting used to, and when you're at a point when you've just made it out the other end of two of the most annoying levels you've ever played, holding on to your last life with 0 continues in stock, dying here just reduces your hope to ashes. But you pick yourself up and do it again. All of it, from level 1 to level 3, and then you try again. As you spend more and more time with games like The Lion King, you eventually begin to understand them, somewhat. You at least form a relationship, a kind of bond with games like these. And no matter how many times these experiences leave you pulling out your hair, you end up appreciating that bond. I think that's part of the reason why The Lion King is pretty fondly remembered, despite probably being rarely completed and ultimately being known as one of the all-time hardest games. You know, back in the days of the Super Nintendo, there was a decent chance you might have actually owned one game. Just one. Maybe a couple if your shit sparkled. The rest of those games you played you probably rented or borrowed, but as for that one game, that was the game you played when you had nothing else going on, and you'd play that game over and over again until you mastered it. That was what the culture was like back then, and it's only through understanding this that you'll develop the patience to sit through this baptism by fire masquerading as a Lion King game for kids. I beat level 4. Getting the timing on this jump over these incoming rocks right is actually not that difficult, and you can get an instinctive feel for it pretty quickly. In level 5, Simba makes his way through the brambles and out into the desert while hyenas drop rocks on his head, according to the manual. This was actually the point where I started reading the manual because level 5 had me in a state of total dismay, and I needed a little bit of guidance. Trust me, the rocks thing is somehow so much more frustrating when you don't have a narrative reason for it to occur kicking about in your head. Not knowing that the hyenas were doing this to Simba and being unable to contextualize such cruelty within the narrative itself made me feel like the game designers were doing this to me. Just spiteful shit. And this would have been where I quit the game forever had I not read the manual. I mean, I did quit for some time. I died here, gave this game the middle finger, then walked away for a few days. And that's good. Kinda. Because old games like The Lion King aren't just an abstract experience. Some games are so difficult, so curmudgeonly, that they become a conversation. A two-way street. The game fucks me over, and I tell it to go fuck itself. And somehow, through that exchange, we come to understand each other a little bit more. At this point in our time with The Lion King, we're able to fall back on muscle memory whenever we're kicked back to the game's opening few levels. Making a bit of progress, dying, then going back to the beginning to start all over again becomes something of a ritual. Each time we start The Lion King from level 1 again, we master a new portion of the game that we'd struggled to come to grips with just moments before. Eventually, the timing required to get that jump right on level 2 sticks. Swinging on the hippo tails might take a life or two, but we can always earn those back by exploring oncoming maps and playing the minigames. The monkey puzzle can be played on autopilot mode. We've been slain by these hyenas so many times that their attacks are now totally predictable. We know where every item on the map is, how every enemy behaves, where all the booby traps are. You already know that you can collect this circle of life on level 3, but soon you also learn that you can glitch onto this nearby trampoline pretty reliably instead of having to redo an entire section of the level like I assume was the intention. Once you get a hang of the Stampede level, it's pretty hard to die, and the level after that, while malicious for sure, is so short, and that's before you discover the hidden paths that allow you to bypass entire sections of it. This level is kind of fun, actually, once you're familiar with it. In fact, I'd say it's the second most fun level in the game behind the Elephant Graveyard. The Elephant Graveyard presents Simba with a decent variety of platforming and combat-oriented challenges, and it's the best designed map too. I like how everything is laid out. Level 5's map layout is cool too with the zigzag thing it's got going on. Just remember to keep it moving and don't bother picking up this extra life down here as there's a 65% chance you'll get stuck in the wall and succumb to death by hyena boulder. Simba makes it out of the brambles and into the desert with hyenas snipping at his tail, a wide open world in front of him.
If you ever come back, we'll kill ya!
And here you are feeling like everything's cool now because you finally made it to the Hakuna Matata level, but let me just implore you to sit down and think for a second. Do you actually believe that you'll have a good time with this level? Do you really? It's pretty fun to slide down these waterfalls, but that's all the fun we're in for here, as this map is littered, and I mean littered, with spiders, bro. They're everywhere. They move too fast for you to reliably deal with, and they jump at pretty unpredictable times, so you'll just have to take that L to the face and focus on staying alive as this game laughs at you. Like so many of the Lion King's dreadful trials, the spiders exist to slow the player's progress and prevent them from getting through the level too quickly. They whittle away at your health bar, knock you off ledges, and just generally make the Lion King that much more of a migraine inducer. These pests don't really come across as a legitimate challenge, more a time waster, a needler, And it does feel like a lack of inspiration was the point of inception for these little nuisances. Just keep moving rightwards and upwards from the second you start level 6 until it appears that you can start going leftwards and upwards. Or you can not do this and waste a bunch of your time like I did, if you want, I guess. The most challenging part of Mission Hakuna Matata for a lot of players is this waterfall that you've got to scale. It's hard to judge how high Simba can actually jump, especially if he's not standing still, but this wasn't really ever a problem we had to think about until now, which sounds almost like compelling game design in a twisted way. I don't know if this tip is widely known, but there are slow-moving logs on the far left and far right of the waterfall. You'll always be able to fall back on these whenever you run out of good options, and these outermost logs travel sluggishly enough to allow you to wait things out a little bit, take a breather, get a lay of the water, and spring off again when the time is right. Now, if you want to collect one of these red beetles that extends your life bar, that puts Simba in a different position where he has to scale the falls from ground zero instead of from this convenient vantage point. You want Tisrau to climb the waterfall from down here? Don't look at me, dog. I've never been able to do it. I just grab the beetle, sacrifice a life, then go for this pickup over here.
So you can collect this red beetle if you want, but it doesn't matter. Because after this level, you become adult Simba. And your health resets. Everything resets. It literally does not matter whether you get this pickup or not. Or whether you get any pickup on this level. Can't stand this game, bro.
Spiders, waterfalls, and now gorillas. Simba's gotta dispose of this primate, and that requires him to return these boulders back to Sender. He can also play it safe and just wait things out before pouncing on the thing's head. That works too. I really love this sprite and its accompanying animations, but I hate dealing with this animal in the actual game. The gorilla challenge is tedious. These platforms have been purposefully made really annoying to climb. If you get caught in a death loop at this point in the game, which is likely to happen, I apologize. Having to do the dance with this gorillangutan over and over again makes for some sickening stuff, and there's no real hack to him either. You just gotta play his game and beat him with the cards you've been dealt. Level 5 is probably the worst of young Simba's levels. That demerit would otherwise go to level 2, but you can at least play through that level with your brain turned off at a certain point. The second and third parts of level 5 always elicit a bit of a groan, sometimes a snarl, but there's a reason I specifically said level 5 is the worst of young Simba's levels. It's because adult Simba's levels are all worse. Now, maybe they're not all worse, but they're mostly worse, at least in all of the ways that make The Lion King a uniquely stomach-churning, teeth-grinding, toe-smashing into the leg of a bed-framing experience. Again, I'm criticizing the direction of this game without knowing anything about its development process, but it's actually kind of crazy that we don't get some kind of 16-bit cub to adult transformation in the Lion King game. It's one of the most iconic bits in the movie, I think. Also one of the most iconic moments in the song that scored the level we just beat. The Lion King game opts to skip the pageantry and fade straight from Kid Simba to Adult Simba, and it's one of the many moments where the game fails to take advantage of any opportunities to resonate with players on an emotional level, at least at first glance. Wouldn't be a problem if the rest of these levels were really fun from a gameplay perspective, but, you know. Simba's Destiny is the least interesting of the 10 levels in this game, but I'd rather be playing this than getting thrown around by monkeys or careening headfirst into a body of water trying to dodge jumping spiders. Simba's grown now, so he can beat shit up for real. His roar will also stun enemies and make them susceptible to a one-shot kill. Level 7 is really just an environment to play around with these new abilities and see what kind of cool things you can do, but the novelty wears off after you've died here 100 times. Also, these are the slipperiest fucking rocks of all time. Anyway, the bottom line is this. You get stopped every so often by these portals that vomit jaguars. These jaguars are extremely nasty and will kill you fast, but once you get the timing right, you can just batter them with your paws and they won't ever be able to hit you, thus instantly trivializing this unfortunately kinda nothing combat system. Upon beating all the jaguars, which takes forever, Rafiki appears to open the path and allow you to progress. As you might guess, Simba's Destiny is a gamified interpretation of the final moments from The Lion King's second act, where Rafiki guides Simba to the pool of enlightenment so that he can have an emotional reconnection with the late Mufasa.
Stop!
This is the scene where Simba finally realizes that he must take his place in the circle of life, aka deal with Scar and become the real king. It's emotionally compelling stuff, and the idiosyncratic Rafiki adds so much soul, so much humor to an already compelling scene. Puts a damn smile on your face. Rest in power, Robert Guillaume. The Lion King mines this scene for a couple visual cues here, some vibes there, and stretches it out into something substantive by making use of these incredibly annoying jaguar portals, but there's no honor among thieves. You can choose to waste your time here, or you can exploit the game like it's been exploiting you and skip these combat sections entirely. Roar just in front of the portal as the jaguar spawns and you'll stun it, meaning you can do the one-shot kill toss thing and glitch through the closed entryway, bypassing this nonsense. Once I figured out I could do this, I never bothered with these sections again.
You must take your place in the circle of life.
New level's called Be Prepared, and I don't remember any of this happening in the movie. Where are we? Is this an active volcano? Yes, it is, which means the curtains are about to be drawn back, revealing our participation in this game to be part of some kind of elaborate and sad Truman Show social experiment thing, because this is the worst level by miles. You know how you struggled with level 3 and spent a significant portion of your time with the Lion King just trying to figure it out? Remember all that time you spent trying to not dig into your eye sockets as you encountered the vultures, the bone wall, the smoke tower, the hyena arena? Yeah. Level 3 is level 8 if it were a baby. Guarantee you that most of my time spent in the struggle against this beast of a game took place here. The lava level, man. This level changes lives, moves you to make rash decisions, puts you, your neighbors, your co-workers, and your landlord in immediate danger. Yo, what West would say? We got everything on this level. Pick your poison. Jaguars, hyenas, piping hot lava, bats whose sole purpose is to disrupt your entire day. More lava dripping from the ceiling. Even more lava. This boulder.
Bro, where does this boulder come from? You don't even see it falling. It just comes out of nowhere to smite you. Okay.
I'd reached a moment of enlightenment earlier in my playthrough that saved this video. Were I not in Zen mode by the time I got into the lava level, were I not at peace with the knowledge that every time I turned on the Lion King, I was in for a Montreal level screw job, I would be sitting here talking about the Powerpuff Girls or something. Like and subscribe, by the way, that video's next. The first half of this level is honestly whatever. It's hard as shit. Tell me something I don't know. This whole game's hard as shit, but the lava level will only take your life on your time. Anytime you die here, it's your fault. The game can throw its hands up and say, hey man. That is, until you get to the second half of this level, which starts about here as you're tasked with knocking these stalactites down to the ground below to form a new path for Simba. If Simba even grazes this rock as it falls, no, if he merely conjures a thought bubble that designs to brush against this rock as it falls, that's it. Back to the start of the level and takes this swift kick in the rump too while you're at it. I can't tell you how many times this rock killed me, and adult Simba's hitbox is a bit extra when it comes to potential environmental damage in general. You'll notice this in the previous level too, where the lion has to strike down vines to release the potential energy in these giant boulders. It's way too easy to die here. This shit don't even make sense. It's like the freed stone transmogrifies into a bomb. Where's Calvin and Hobbes at? I died so many times trying to be smart with this falling stalactite, and it's just not worth it. Take your time like a dork and you get a checkpoint, praise the sun. You can also opt to fell the stalactite on the rightmost side of the map if you want an extra life and some other goodies, but don't do it. Just don't. It's not worth it. Take the checkpoint, seriously. Cause if you thought Simba was cooked before, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Checkpoint, 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 checkpoint.
We're now sailing across the Red Sea, and oh boy, we get to do combat and platforming at the same time. Insidious work by the folks at Westwood Studios, who obviously have some kind of problem with me. I was beginning to think that there was no way the Lion King could get more annoying, but having to attack these bats while in deadly motion is just another level of sadism that I'd be tempted to applaud were this joke not at my expense. You'd expect Simba not to fly off this platform dramatically anytime he gets attacked by one of these bats, except you wouldn't because this is the Lion King video game. He's usually able to stand his ground when damaged by a bat, but of course things are different here because isn't that more fun? You have to be extremely proactive with these bats during the second half of this level and deal with them before they take an interest in you, because once they start flying, that's probably it. If you come into contact in the air, that's definitely it. And there's a small chance that Simba actually won't fly off the platform after taking damage, but I wouldn't count on it. As a general rule, the closer you are to a landmass, the lower the chances that you'll get knocked off when attacked, which just tells me that this gimmick is an intentional bit of fuckery on the part of whoever at Westwood I've got to apologize to. There are more easily accessible extra lives here than anywhere else in the game, but who cares? You're gonna lose all those lives too anyway. Then you'll have to make it all the way back here. Can you imagine how many times I died in the stupidest possible way at this point in level 8 before having to go through levels 1 through 7 again? I was in the Brazen Bull this past week, seriously. Every time I got a bit of free time in the day, I'd get chills. I'd break out in cold sweats and preload the impending nausea because I knew I was coming back to this game. That zen I was talking about evaporated. Yo, try this game out for yourself and do this bat lava thing and tell me with a straight face this feels good to play. I triple dog dare you. We gotta keep going. At this point, we've come too far to stop. 7 out of 10 levels completed, all for it to end melted like a stick of butter in the Earth's food processor. I just can't accept it. You know, watching the Lion King movie again after playing this game a bit is kinda interesting. The film does an admirable job exploring Simba's emotional turmoil. His relationship with Mufasa only becomes more complicated in the years following the king's tragic murder. When Simba reconnects with Nala in their adulthood, he's suddenly pulled back into a painful world he swore to leave behind from a world he's long learned to embrace, not to mention the whole circle of life thing. He's got a lot going on, Simba, and becoming king of the Pride Lands necessitates that he meet these emotional trials head on and work through them. By the time Simba returns to Pride Rock, he's moving with a new swag, a newfound determination in the self. There is a power in him being able to admit in front of Scar, his mother, and the rest of his pride that he killed his father. And the moment Simba decides to challenge Scar is the moment where he finally assumes the role of king. Because dealing with fuck niggas encroaching on your set is king shit. But he's not ready for that mantle until he finally revisits the source of his trauma, taking it back to where it all started. Level 2.
Bro, I'm never playing this fucking stupid game again.
As mentioned before and again, The Lion King the game captures none of this, but it does manage to capture the emotional roller coaster of Simba's ascent to royalty proper in a completely unexpected way. I mean, just take a note of the emotional roller coaster I've been on while trying to beat this thing. The Lion King movie asks you, what does it mean to be a king? The Lion King game is wholly uninterested in this question. Instead, it asks you, how much do you want to be king, for real? It's almost like this game is taking the frustrating, difficult emotional work of its film's protagonist and manifesting that as a frustrating gameplay experience, then adding a dollop of torment on top of that. It's a primal, sensory kind of thing now, rather than a quote-unquote complex emotional thing. But the commonality here is intense suffering. In that way, I spiritually kinda am Simba. No, I didn't have to deal with the same kind of trauma that Simba did, but Simba didn't have to play this fucking game. So, pun intended, we're both scarred. Hey Westwood, how much do I want to be king for real? Very fucking much. Fuck you and this game. I'm beating this lava level. They don't want you to beat the lava level and take your place in the circle of life, but that's why you have to. It's more nonsense to go after you survive the swim across Satan's Lake. Unfortunately, if the boulder that comes out of nowhere doesn't kill you, then the Jaguar will. The Jaguar doesn't, then this stupid jump will. Simba doesn't even want to grab a hold of these platforms. He knows it's nothing good sitting on the other side of them. Just one battle after another. It's like every inch of this level is in a competition to see who can get you to quit the game first. You'll eventually make it to this big room, not know what to do, then die. I thought I was missing something the first couple times I made it this far. These volcanoes are erupting and the chaos is causing boulders to fall from the sky. I hate this boulder shit so bad, I swear. There's nothing to do in this room but survive, and that's not made clear up front, so it's so easy. So possible to fail the assignment by accident before you even get to put pen to paper. Too late, you're donezo. Back to level 1. These volcanoes are a safe spot from the falling debris, so once you realize that, you're likely golden. Stand atop the spouts when they're not vomiting everywhere and wait out the apocalypse as it rags around you. Jump on this thing once it's all plugged up and blast off into the night. Apparently this level was based on a cutting room floor scene from the movie, so the evil minds that produced this horror show had actually recovered the blueprints from eviler minds at Disney, both parties colluding to make me a miserable man. But we finally reached the Pride Lands, and Scars turned this achingly beautiful patch of Serengeti into a McDonald's parking lot. Don't eat there, by the way, baby. There's a boycott. Level 9 is almost as bad as level 8, but for totally different reasons. This is one of those pick a hole, any hole levels where there's one correct path and all the other ones are filled with things that hate you. This one's best done with a couple lives and circles of life in stock because you'll want to spend one life going down as many paths as possible and mapping out the locale. You have to kill every hyena in the area before you can enter a new hole, and these hyenas respawn once you've committed to leaving your current location. As in, if you go down the wrong path, you will have to clear every map again. This is, of course, to ensure that you eventually wither away and die, because the Lion King is the gameplay equivalent of waking up to find your tires slashed, but we been new. I don't remember the right path, to be honest, but I don't recall this maze being so impenetrable. The 2 times I beat this level were on accident, though, I'm pretty sure. You'll memorize the correct path eventually, reach the right room, and the level just throws its hands up and fades to black in awkward fashion after you whoop all the hyenas. There are some really good pickups off the beaten path that'll boost your health and roar ability, but if you have the right directions even partially memorized, just pass go and skip all the bullshit. The size of your health bar might not even be a deciding factor in this boss fight anyway, dog. Regardless, it's time to send Scar to the 7th circle. Yeah, buddy, I'm dragging you down with me. The battle for the soul of Pride Rock is not so much a satisfying combat experience pulling from all of Simba's past trials, so much as it is an esoteric puzzle where the game implores you to figure out exactly what the hell you're supposed to be doing here. The visuals and atmosphere are stunning and provocative, as is the case with most of the Lion King game, but man, this is something else. Look at the blazing fire flaring up in the foreground. It's almost worth losing your mind trying to get here just to feast your eyes upon this spectacle. Like clearing Mount Everest's death zone before finally kissing that snow-capped summit. Probably not the same feeling, but you get me. Level looks great, Scar looks great, and he better. This is his swan song. His moment. Much like the movie, this big puss is incapable of throwing paws though, and is liable to take blow after blow to the face whenever he gets near you. After getting the hang of his attack patterns, it's possible to basically never take damage in this fight unless you want to take a gamble and do Simba's kitty throw thing. You actually have to do this move if you don't want to spend forever waiting on Scar, because your paws do next to no damage. I have several minutes of footage where I'm just sitting still and swinging at old Scar and he's just tanking my shit. Throws seem to do massive damage and allow you to unlock the following sections of this level pretty quickly, but here's the problem. The game doesn't tell you when you're supposed to go for a throw. Pop open the manual for a bit of clarity and it does the speed trying not to laugh at you. You're clearly supposed to figure out what to do on your own, but when does that ever end well in The Lion King for Super Nintendo? First time I made it to the boss fight, I had 3 lives left and 6 circles of life. Guess what? Gone in a zip, back to level 1. Bro, it wasn't even Scar who done me most of the time. It's actually pretty easy to wrap your head around his gimmick and dispose of him in the first area of the map almost by accident without really knowing what you're supposed to do, but then he leaps off to another area and you gotta go rock climbing to find him. Yeah, the Pride Rock level not only asks you to beat Scar, but to beat him thrice with interstitial platforming bits breaking up each fight, meaning yeah, the game's platforming is here to do what Scar don't. First time I sent Scar packing, I followed after him, then dove right off the edge of a cliff. Boom, 1 life down. Simba doesn't even try to grab this paw hold and opts instead to go spelunking. He can grab onto this thing, but I didn't have enough lives to gamble with, so in my next kitty life I just jumped way over the first rocky growth and grabbed onto the second one. I marvel at all the ways the Lion King conspires against you. There are hyenas scattered about, but this species have lost half a step ever since Simba's grown into adolescence. You'll notice that after that point they mostly just laze around in a permanent state of exhaustion, presumably because there's no food in the Pride Lands anymore and everybody's hungry. A nice little detail, to be honest, but as far as gameplay is concerned, this is our only boon right now because we don't actually have to fight any of these goobers if we don't want to. The priority is Scar, but in order to get to him, you'll have to platform up this outcropping while lightning strikes create fires in really inconvenient places. I really appreciate the way the Pride Rock level mirrors the Pride Lands. These levels are set in the same general location, and your goals are similar in each. Find a path upward and deal with hazards along the way, but by the time you get to Pride Rock, the context has shifted so drastically. It's cool to think about, and the mechanical familiarity between these 2 levels can actually be felt because it only takes 20 to 25 minutes to get from level 1 to level 10 if nothing goes wrong. I appreciate that this journey feels like it loops in a mechanical sense, and I want to acknowledge that here because I cannot appreciate the actual act of scaling this mountain. I died over and over again for stupid and stupider reasons trying to make it up Pride Rock. I almost started thinking, why am I even trying to save the Pride Lands right now? But thoughts like that have got to be brushed aside. The first platforming section is annoying, but doable. So, how are you actually supposed to fight Scar? Because again, pawing at him seems to do next to nothing. Like any large enemy in the game, Scar will eventually show signs of exhaustion, and that'll indicate that you can throw him. You would think. The throw feels like it works 40 to 50% of the time, maybe. It'll work one time, then you'll create the exact conditions necessary to throw Scar again, and he'll just jump on top of you and kill you instantly. What the fuck? Okay, so that's why you don't want to throw him at the wrong time. But what's the right time? It's not when he's tired, clearly. Well, what I figured is that it has something to do with how full your roar meter is. If it's full, you have a greater chance of throwing him. If it's not, forget about it. But Scar's exhaustion almost feels like he's baiting you to try something fancy so he can deliver his own kill shot. A kind of cool detail that's in line with his character if that's what Westwood Studios was going for, but it makes it hard to figure out when he's actually totally susceptible to a throw. I actually found that I had a lot of success throwing Scar around when my roar meter was full and Scar wasn't showing signs of exhaustion. After you wallop him enough times, you'll start to get a sense of when he's getting fatigued, or maybe it's fatigued in quotes. He backs off, then comes forward. You hit him twice. The first time he's exhausted, then the second time he backs off. But sometimes he won't show signs of exhaustion after you hit him that first time, and that's when I've had the most amount of success throwing him. I don't know if that's the actual solution to the Scar problem, but you're gonna have to find out what works for you, because otherwise you'll be whittling down an invisible health bar big enough to dive in. Seriously, it's like he doesn't take any damage from what should be one of the worst things you can get slapped with. Hit Scar with the combo and he's out of here again, which means you now have to deal with the worst section of the level. This platforming sequence. There are all these rocky platforms and they're constantly getting struck by lightning and set ablaze. A lot of the time it seems like these platforms are getting struck simultaneously, usually save for the one you're currently standing on, and these flames don't go out unless you leave the immediate area, but you're not trying to leave the immediate area, you're trying to climb up and through it. The worst part about this sequence is the frame rate. All that lightning causes the Lion King's performance to drop massively, and that severely impacts Simba's ability to make precise jumps. The first time I reached level 10, I lost my last life here doing this. Being suffocated by flames and sucked into the bowels of the earth because a dip in frame rate caused me to mistime a critical jump. I fell into darkness and almost couldn't face Rafiki as he shook his head yet again. Then I took a breath, calmed myself, and realized I'd made it all the way to level 10. I honestly didn't think I'd ever be capable of doing that merely a week ago. I'll just do it again. And I did it again. From level 1 to level 10. From climbing in the Pride Lands to climbing Pride Rock, I did it again. The lightning does cause massive problems with the frame rate on Super Nintendo, at least when running through the Retro Games emulator on browser. Once the game slows down, it's borderline impossible to make it through this sequence. There's no tip for this section. I either got lucky on my Daft Punk or finessed my way up that hill on my Kate Bush much faster this time, because I managed to reach the summit of Pride Rock not once, but twice in a row. Yeah, I got here for the first time and died. Too much dip in my chip and went for a throw when I shouldn't have, so it was back to ground zeros. I respawned with an even stronger determination to take Scar out to pasture. Get up there and whoop his ass. But you've only properly finished him off when you've lured him to the nearby cliffside to be thrown to his death. Manage that, and you've beaten the Lion King. Simba's roar summons the rainfall. Scar is felled. The circle of life is no longer corrupted. And the king has taken his place on the throne.
Yo, this is how nasty Scar did the boy, bro. He's looking over his shoulder constantly in his most triumphant moment, like this nigga's gonna pop out. He looking backwards where he just threw that nigga, like, yo, is he gonna backstab me or what?
This is one of the most beautiful games ever made, and I really have appreciated my time with it despite everything. I was constantly blown away by these sprites and the quality of these animations, all of the small visual details that contribute so nicely to the presentation of one of the finest sensory experiences you can partake in on the Super Nintendo. I really do believe that this game is special in its own right, and I have since I first laid eyes on it in my childhood. Playing this beast is a different story entirely though, and it's one of those weird games that you really can't recommend just anybody try and get into. Comments from Westwood Studios director Lewis Castle suggest that the call to make the Lion King really difficult came from above, from the folks at Disney, and you can tell that the thought process behind the design of these levels is oftentimes, how can we slow the player down here? How can we make this section more challenging, instead of what would be the most fun thing to play? And discourse about the Lion King video game reflects this design philosophy decades later. Players don't talk about the Lion King being a really fun game with great feeling gameplay because it's not, really, at least once you get over the novelty and start looking past the pretty pictures. Most of the conversation surrounding the Lion King is just, damn, this shit's hard. The desire to beat this game is driven not by its excellence, but by its status as a notorious gameplay experience, and for that reason, it's nuts to me that anyone would consider The Lion King to be a great game. I think it's a good companion piece to a culturally defining cinematic experience. It's fun in pockets, especially once you know the lay of all these levels and can zip around confidently. But The Lion King doesn't present a very fun challenge, in my opinion. It's actually pretty harrowing, and I came out the other end of my experience with The Lion King having a great deal of respect for this game while also realizing I don't really want to play it now. My time with it, the relationship I formed with it over the course of a week and several hours, is through. But that's how it goes with a game sometimes. You play it, you're satisfied, you put it down, and that's it.